In 1962, the world held its breath. Nuclear silos were uncovered, and the phrase mutual assured destruction entered the human lexicon. That was the Cold War. It was a battle of ideologies, fought with steel, gunpowder, and the constant shadow of the mushroom cloud. But today, in 2026, the battlefield has moved. The front line isn't a trench in Europe. It's a sterile laboratory in Taiwan. The weapon isn't a missile. It's a 3-nanometer microchip. We are currently living through the Great Decoupling, the most significant shift in global power since the fall of the Berlin Wall. While the media focuses on flashy headlines, a deeper, more calculated financial war is being waged in the shadows of the global banking system. The question isn't whether a new Cold War has begun. The question is, in a world where the two combatants are financially handcuffed to one another, who survives when one starts to pull away? This is Economic Chronicles. Today, we decode the new economic Cold War, US versus China. Chapter 1. The Architecture of Interdependence. To understand why this conflict is so dangerous, we have to look back at the mistake of the 1990s. After the Soviet Union collapsed, American policymakers fell in love with a theory called the McDonald's Peace. The idea was simple: countries that trade together don't go to war. In 2001, the United States paved the way for China to join the World Trade Organization. Washington believed that by integrating China into the global financial system, China would eventually become a responsible stakeholder, or in simpler terms, more like the West. But history had other plans. While the US spent trillions on Middle Eastern wars, China spent trillions on its own backyard. They didn't just build factories, they built a monopoly on the very plumbing of the 21st century. In the original Cold War, the US and the USSR lived in two different worlds. They didn't buy each other's goods, they didn't use each other's currency. Today, Apple makes iPhones in Zhengzhou. China holds nearly $1 trillion in US Treasury bonds. We aren't just rivals, we are Siamese twins with different hearts. And the new Cold War is essentially an attempt at a brutal surgical separation without killing the patient. Chapter 2. The Weaponization of the Semiconductor. In the 20th century, oil was the lifeblood of empire. In the 21st, it is the microchip. The original Cold War was an arms race of quantity. Who had more tanks, more planes, more warheads? The new Cold War is a race of quality, specifically the quality of the transistors etched onto silicon. When the US issued the October 2022 export controls, it was an act of economic war. By banning the sale of high-end AI chips and the machinery to make them to China, the US effectively tried to freeze China's technological evolution in time. Think about the financial history here. During Decoupling, the US used the Lend-Lease Act to fuel its allies. Today, the US is using denial lease. But China isn't sitting idle. They have countered by restricting the export of gallium and germanium, critical minerals that the US needs for its own defense systems. This is the Silicon Curtain. It isn't made of concrete like the Berlin Wall. It's made of intellectual property rights and supply chain choke points. If China loses access to the chips, their military stalls. If the US loses access to the minerals and the manufacturing, their economy halts. It is a digital version of checkmate, where both players are losing pieces every second. Chapter 3. The Dollar Under Siege. The most potent weapon in the American arsenal isn't the F-35 fighter jet. It's the US dollar. Since the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944, the dollar has been the world's reserve currency. This allows the US to run massive debts that no other country could survive. It gives the US the power to delete a country from the global economy through sanctions, as they did to Russia in 2022. However, this weaponization of finance has sent a shiver down the spine of the global East. China is leading the charge in de-dollarization. Through the BRICS alliance and the cross-border interbank payment system, they are building a financial bypass. They are telling the world, you don't need New York to trade. In the first Cold War, the ruble was a joke on the global stage, but the yuan is different. China is the largest trading partner for over 120 countries. When they ask Saudi Arabia to sell oil in yuan, or Brazil to trade in reals, they are attacking the very foundation of American hegemony. If the US dollar loses its status as the primary reserve currency, the American lifestyle, fueled by cheap debt and imported goods, changes forever. This isn't just a trade war, it's a fight for the throne of the global ledger. Chapter 4. The Lessons of the Past. History tells us that when a rising power, China, meets an established power, USA, the result is often what historians call the Thucydides trap. Out of the last 16 times this happened in history, 12 resulted in war. But those wars were fought in an era before globalized supply chains. In the original Cold War, the goal was containment. You boxed the enemy in until they suffocated. In the new Cold War, containment is impossible. You can't contain a country that produces 30% of the world's manufactured goods without suffocating yourself. We are seeing a shift from globalization to slowbalization, or friendshoring. The US is moving factories to India, Vietnam, and Mexico. China is pivoting to Russia, Africa, and Southeast Asia. The world is fracturing into two distinct economic spheres. The conclusion. The new economic Cold War is a paradox. It is a war between two nations that cannot afford to fight, yet cannot afford to trust each other. In the 1980s, we feared the Red Menace. In 2026, we fear the supply chain collapse. The winner of this conflict won't be the one with the biggest army. It will be the one who can innovate the fastest while remaining the most resilient to economic shocks. As the Silicon Curtain falls, the world is becoming smaller, more expensive, and far more dangerous. The past builds power, but only those who understand the money can survive the future. What do you think? Is the US dollar's reign coming to an end? Or is China's economic miracle about to hit a wall? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit the like button and subscribe to Economic Chronicles for more deep dives into the history that shapes your wallet.